team. We are incredibly excited about this next conversation. It is a live podcast taping of the podcast Undistracted. Who here is a listener of Undistracted? Do I see some hands? Okay. With us, of course, is the host of Undistracted, Brittany Packnett Cunningham. She is an MSNBC commentator. She is a podcaster, an organizer, and a writer. And joining her for this will be two special guests. First of all, Dr. Brittney Cooper is a tenured professor of women and gender studies at Rutgers University. If you've been following her, you know she has a lot to say about this particular moment of time and its implications. And joining them both is Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley from the great state of Massachusetts. Please welcome to our live taping of Undistracted our panelists. Have fun.
Hey family, how we doing? Thank you so much for being here. I'm Brittany Packnett Cunningham. I'm the host of Undistracted. We are so excited to be bringing you our third season in just a couple of weeks. And you will be able to tune third season,
yes.
1, 2, and 3, child. Hallelujah. Thank you. And we are so thrilled that this live taping will actually be a part of that season, but you get to hear it first. You get to hear the premiere. You get to be here to help us shape this special conversation. So I'm going to warn y'all right now. Y'all might as well go ahead and get comfortable, because these are my friends in real life, okay? These are my actual sister friends, my sister cousins, and we're gonna have a sister conversation. And here's why. Because we are experiencing a particular spotlight on Black womanhood in this moment. I am grateful to be alive to see this, to watch the sun shine on a Black and South Asian woman being nominated to head a major party in this country. So can we give it up for Vice President Kamala Harris? And I'm also clear that there are no perfect politicians because there are no perfect people. And what I see with her is an opportunity to make progress, but that requires all of us, and that requires all of us also to have a nuanced understanding of, a support for, and a covering for Black women in leadership. So I want to have this conversation with two women who know what the triumph is of being a Black woman in leadership, but also who know what the cost is of being a Black woman in leadership. But before we get to the hard stuff, Dr. Cooper, first I want to come to you. How are you feeling about what we are about to see tonight? We're all dressed in our white. We're ready for the moment, okay? You got the Howard sweatshirt, this Howard sweater on and everything, okay? You know.
Yes. H-U. Listen, I'm elated. We've worked for this. We deserve some joy. And I think that when President Biden dropped out of the race, and there was this moment of everyone feeling like, what's going to happen now? And then I just saw Black women do the thing they do. They gathered everyone together within hours of his announcement and gave us our marching orders, and all of a sudden there was excitement. And so I feel excitement, I feel joy. And one of the reasons that I'm insistent on my right to feel joy is not because I have left my brain at the door, not because I have left my critique at the door, my radical feminist politics at the door, but rather because we deserve to have a politics that does not make us feel downtrodden. And on top of that, sometimes folks make you feel like you're a fool because you believe in something.
Come on.
But I don't think that there's any possibility of building the new world that we want to see unless we are willing to take the risk of believing that it is possible. And that means that when you are taking the risk is that you might also be made a fool of. So I am demanding, claiming, and fully experiencing my joy, because that is the biggest risk. The thing the other side wants to steal is our right to our joy, and I'm not going to let them have it. The world didn't give it to me, and the world ain't going to take it away.
That's right. That's right. Our dear Congresswoman, how are you feeling about today? I mean, we're live at the Democratic National Convention 2024. We're here in Chicago, which of course has a very storied past, shall we say, when it comes to Democratic conventions, and yet, as much history has come before us, the history we're making tonight, we've never seen.
Well, it is a heady and overwhelming feeling in the best kind of way. I was going to say it's surreal, but I think that denies us of the reality. It isn't surreal. It is real. It is attainable. It is within our reach. And although I have the humbling honor today of being the Congresswoman representing the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District, which includes the city of Boston, Chicago is the city that raised me. Boston is the city that changed me. And it is this movement that uplifts me and that carries me. And, you know, speaking of joy, I think that joy is an entitlement. You know, we have allowed certain words to be co-opted, to have this negative connotation.
Yeah.
I think that joy, unbridled black joy, should be a birthright. We are entitled to it. And as someone who's been in Congress the last 5 years, coming in under a government shutdown, governing in the midst of 2 impeachments, an insurrection, a global pandemic, I think we are entitled to some joy.
Yeah,
so I am
that's
going
right.
to claim it fully. So yeah, we're on the precipice of history, and it's so rare that you understand that you are actually making history in real time. So and this is historic as well. So this is heady and overwhelming in the most beautiful of ways.
Here's the thing. I want us to be very clear that history was not promised, right? There's nothing inevitable about what's happening tonight. We sit here 60 years after Fannie Lou Hamer sat in front of the Democratic National Convention Credentials Committee with the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party and demanded to be seated and was denied. Right? She demanded to be seated simply because she wanted the right to be a full citizen of this country and register to vote. And so 60 years after that denial, her sister will be at that podium, at that lectern, accepting that nomination. But in between those 60 years, there's a whole lot of hands on the plow. There are a whole lot of people who got, who had the rug pulled out from under them, who had to make something out of nothing, who had to ideate, who had to create, who had to suffer because they dared dream that any of this was possible. Part of why we're here is because of 5 black women who we affectionately call the colored girls.
That's right.
Who have been working in Democratic politics for 40 years,
Yes.
who started with the young radical Jesse Jackson as presidential candidate, and got their teeth cut in politics then, and had been working in Democratic politics for 40 years. They are running this convention. They are running the Rules Committee. Leah Daughtry, Mignon Moore, Donna Brazile, Tina Florno, Yolanda Caraway. And I name their names because it's easy to think that black women in particular can make the impossible happen with just a snap of a finger. I know we look divine, but we are not actually Jesus Christ. And so there is a phrase people love, right? Black women, come save us. Come save democracy. Come save us again. And we heard it in 2020.
Right.
We heard it in 2016. And now that there's a black and South Asian woman actually at the head of the ticket, we're hearing it more and more. So here's my question. What room do we actually leave for Kamala Harris, and therefore all of us, to be a human being in moving through this era?
Just a little softball.
Softball. I told you we was going to get into it.
Okay, so let me see where I want to get at this. So 3 things. 1, when they mispronounce her name,
That part.
which is most certainly on purpose, it is an attempt to erase, an attempt to marginalize, an attempt to malign, which is why we correct them every time. Now, if they're going to struggle saying that, Madam President will do just fine. So we're going to get to that. So if you can't say Kamala, but we know you can't, you just don't want to. But know that that erasure is not just an erasure of her, it's an erasure of all of us. And as black women, we carry this very unique dichotomy, which is to be hyper visible, which is why we are targeted, why we are surveyed, why we are profiled, why we are called to do the thing. but we are also hyper invisible. And that is why our contributions can be erased, relegated as a footnote, our pain delegitimized.
That's right.
From our healthcare system to our culture, our society, our politics. And so when we just do the thing all the time, yes, Black girl magic is undeniable, but this is Black woman work. And we have put it in, we have been the backbone, we have been on the forefront of every movement of freedom, which is why it is so appropriate that that is the theme, freedom and the future. But as Black women, we also carry multitudes.
That's right.
And so we all, although she is will be the first woman, if we do our job, the first Black Asian woman to be president, and we dig deep and do our job, you know, I think people miss the humanity in us because, again, they are so used to the utility of us. They are so used to the labor of us. While we are doing the work of centering everyone else's humanity, of bringing everyone else along, of carrying multitudes, our own humanity is completely erased.
You know, Brittany, I want to come to you on this same question, but I want to ask it a slightly different way because she is human. She is a Black and South Asian woman dealing with all of the stigmas that we all deal with, and she's running to be president of the United States. So holding her to the highest standard is our job as citizens. I'm thinking, though, of the unique punishment that comes when Black women intentionally, specifically, and unapologetically not only speak truth, but do the work to actually make truth become reality, right? They do the work to create the policy change, to bring reproductive justice into reality, to ensure that we've got an opportunity economy, to ensure that that families get what they deserve and communities have what they deserve. So if we want her to perform that action as a Black and South Asian woman, what are the kinds of things that we need to be doing as citizens to ensure that she has the cover and the pathway to actually do it, knowing full well that the attacks that will come on her if she hits the standard that we're holding will be 5 times harder than what everybody else gets?
Yes. This is a complicated moment. And on any given day, I find myself walking a tightrope, feeling like, are we gonna go over the cliff? And also wanting to fight people.
Sometimes you might have to do both, but go ahead.
And prepared, and wake up every day with enough smoke for everybody that needs it. And I think that that's actually the approach we have to have. Kamala Harris will be held to an unreasonable standard of perfection. It is already happening. She not only has been asked to save democracy, we've given her, 75 cool days to do it? She didn't even get the benefit of a long primary season. Now, maybe that might turn out to work for her advantage. But she is going to be given no room for error, because the problem when Black women get into positions of leadership is precisely what Representative Pressley said. Then we become avatars for other people's projections of who we are, rather than getting to be our own human selves.
That part.
Right? And the thing about it is, everyone is very comfortable with Black women doing what I like to call the custodial work of democracy.
Come on.
And that's no shade to custodial work. I come from generations of women who did domestic work.
Respect.
But we are comfortable with Black women cleaning up messes, making rooms hospitable, making sure that everything looks the way it's supposed to look and runs the way it's supposed to run. But we don't respect them as the theorists. We don't respect them as the power brokers. We don't respect them as the leaders. Then, when they get into positions of leadership, then we undermine them, we doubt them, we don't give them any room to grow. We let these white boys screw up and screw up and screw up again,
And
they
fail
forward all of the time, right? Look, I don't need to come and disrespect President Biden to say this man has had a complicated history in politics as it relates to Black people. And so the level of love and flowers he is getting, he has been in politics longer than I have been alive. And I am a middle-aged woman. And he has had the opportunity to build a legacy and to get things right and to revise himself and to apologize and to fix it. And what we know is that sisters never get that opportunity. She will get one shot and one
That's
shot
right.
only. And and here's the thing, and I have to hold the truth of that. I'm gonna say something, it's not a flex. It's a thing I'm proud of, but it's not a flex. I was my high school valedictorian, and I was in a predominantly white high school, and I think I was the first black valedictorian of this high school. And I remember that my white colleagues were very angry when it was clear that I was gonna be the valedictorian, and this white boy ran around the salutatorian yelling all year about how he hoped I made a B in a class so we could be equal. And so that year, I was like, it's gonna be A's the whole way, baby, every grade period, every course. Because I understood that that was the assignment, that in order to get to the top, I had to be nothing short of perfect. The standard doesn't change. And so the issue here is that she is going to be held to an unreasonable standard, but she also should be held to a high standard because she's going to be the leader of the free world.
That's right.
Because she's going to be a beacon for a democratic experiment that is very much on the brink of failing. And so what we've got to figure out how to hold as a community is the ability to protect and fight for her and defend her right to be treated with a level of humanity and grace while not compromising the fact that there are some things that are just right, and they don't change just because she's the first black woman to have to deal with the problem. They don't change because she's being called in to fix America's messes. It's still a mess, and our job is still to call it a mess, and our job is still to demand that as much as within her power, her brilliance, her ability to put together a team, her ability to marshal power and political capital and build consensus and lead the people to fix the messes. That is the job. And we cannot back off of that. And that is going to be real hard to do because there are some people that are looking for opportunities to talk sideways and be reckless to black women. And the thing is, we know when they want the opportunity to do it, and it makes us feel some type of way. But the problem with that becomes that sometimes then we compromise. Here, let me say this other thing, and I'm going to say it in the city of Chicago because we deserve the truth. I also revere President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, but black people could have had more. We deserved more. It's not that he didn't try. It's not that he didn't care about us, but it is that we were so invested in protecting him that sometimes we left real gains that we deserve as people on the table. And so some of the job now is to figure out how to both I am so proud of Kamala Harris. H.U. So proud of her. And also, I am not backing off of, I appreciate her on reproductive justice. I appreciate the work that she's done on foreign policy. I trust her on this point. I think she's better than the sitting president on the issue of Palestine. And I'm going to stand with the people who are pushing her this very night to put a Palestinian American on the stage. Because they deserve to be heard. And because I can stand with her and also say that I need her to make this democracy look better at the end than it looked at the beginning. And we don't get there unless we push her.
That's
okay,
right.
can I just build on that for a moment?
Yeah, I was going to say,
okay, I want to build on that. I mean, although it's always hard. Listen, I never want to follow you on the mic, but I would follow you anywhere, if you know what I mean. But on the issue of Palestine,
let's talk about it.
I think the issue here is that two things can be true.
That's right.
And the reason why black women carry multitudes is because we live in intersectionality. So if people live in complexity, they live in nuance, but culturally, when it comes to government and the people, we present these binary choices. And the ways in which that can do a disservice to movement building is every movement requires three things: imagination, strategy, and stamina. And so we have to be strategic, we have to radically dream, and we have to understand, in the great words of Stacey Abrams, that we do not elect saviors. Hello.
That's right.
I grew up in a small storefront church on the south side of Chicago, pastored by the Reverend James E. Eccles, Rain of Shah Missionary Baptist Church. I know who my savior is, and it is not any elected official.
Come on.
You elect partners. So the tactical choice that you are making every time The strategic choice that you are making every time is, who do you want to be your partner?
Yeah.
And that does not mean that you allow them to abdicate their responsibility to lead. It does not mean that you give them cover when you are aggrieved or your people are aggrieved. It means that you push and you hold them accountable. But that cannot be a unique ire just for black women in these positions.
Come on.
Right.
There is a unique ire that you hold only for black women.
Yeah.
Who do 3 times the work and get 10 times the backlash.
That's right.
And it is exhausting.
Yeah.
It has to be.
But partnership is accountability, and I do also just want to underscore what you offered there. Speaking of the erasure of people's humanity, that is exactly why there needs to be Palestinian voice on this stage. We have to center the humanity of the Palestinian people. We know what it is to be victimized by state-sanctioned violence. We know that people move with an emboldened anti-blackness, which is why you never hear about a rise in anti-blackness, because it never leaves. It's so systemic. It's so normalized. Ooh. We are so desensitized to black suffering.
You preach. Come on.
While also taking for granted and exploiting what it means to be a black leader. And every day, I'm like, can you be black and lead and not be a martyr? Can you not lose your life? Can you not lose your livelihood? Can you not lose your health? Is it possible? So this unique ire you hold from us, if anyone understands the need to center the humanity of a people when ours has consistently been erased, it will be this black woman. So I'm holding out all hope. Because 40,000 Palestinians, 16,000 Palestinian children, we need a permanent ceasefire. We need an arms embargo. We need to bring the hostages home.
As we work through the word you both just gave us, I want to add another name to the conversation, but because when we discuss black women standing on business for community, for justice, for the globe, and what can happen as a result of that, I have to bring in the name of my hometown Congresswoman Cori Bush.
Please clap for this sister.
And you all, please clap for her.
Please clap for this sister.
Cori Bush did her black job.
Yes.
Congresswoman Bush stood up for Palestine, stood up for District 1, which is my home, stood up for the north side of St. Louis, stood up for reproductive justice so much that she told her own abortion story on the Congress floor. And I'm sitting here trying to hold back tears in my eyes because while it's been beautiful to see the rally that we've seen over the last few weeks around Vice President Harris, understanding that if she's going to be held to the standard we want to hold her to, that she needs support to get there, I'm also watching so many other black women not experience the same. Because I'm thinking about Cori Bush doing her job and frankly, her black job, and frankly, white folks not doing their white jobs to support her, non-black people not doing their jobs to support her and to ensure that she can be back in Congress to keep actually pushing us forward. And so the reason why I asked this question in the frame of Kamala Harris is because it's easy for us to talk about how we get behind her. We've spent a lot less time talking about how we get behind folks like you, Congresswoman, who stand on business for us every single day and are 10 toes down on that Congress floor, right? Yeah. For the young women who are running for school board against all of those banned books. For the professors who are willing to tell the truth despite the death threats. I'm talking about you, Brittney Cooper, right? For the activists and organizers who get the death threats to our mailbox. I'm talking about my damn self now.
Yes, exactly.
So I bring her name into the conversation because it's all good when we're riled up and we're ready to protect black women, but when it comes time, people get forgetful. So we talked about what our black woman work has been. What's everybody else's work to make sure that we get to the finish line and be clear? The finish line is not November the 5th. The finish line is not Madam President. That is the starting line. A finish line is a permanent ceasefire. A finish line is full citizenship for Palestinians. Mm-hmm. The finish line is reproductive justice, not just restoring Roe, but ensuring that if and when you want to have children, you can do it in a way that your whole family can thrive. right? When
It's
we're
George
talking
Floyd, voting rights.
It's all of those things. That is the finish line. So what's everybody else's job? So that we run to the finish line, crash through that tape, and then get to the world that we deserve.
So, yes, this a preacher too.
You know. My God.
I want to say 3 names to you that have become of deep significance in 2024. Dr. Claudine Gay,
Tell it.
Representative Cori Bush, and Miss Sonia Massey.
My God.
That's right.
That is the arc of black women's possibility. You have a Harvard president, you have a U.S. congresswoman, you have a sister just living her life. And look at the levels of structural violence that all of them face just for being black women standing in their power. When Sonia Massey looked that officer in the face and said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," she called out the evil and she got shot and killed for doing so. And I want to say that to you because before we talk about finish lines, we got to talk about what it means to guard us the whole way down the field, down the court, to get black women's back, to surround them with protection. One of the things I'm worried about in this moment is a thing we learned with President Obama. Folks be real mad when black folks be successful. And they respond to it with levels of political violence that we have never seen.
Yeah.
And what we have experienced this year is people trying to get black women in check. That's why I know that Kamala Harris can be the next president, because they're showing us how afraid they are of black women standing in their power. And we have got to don't be scared, right? That's the first thing, don't be scared. Listen, I get death threats. I have been doxxed more times than I can count. I have been swatted. I have been sitting in my house chilling, and officers have shown up on a false call. They want to scare us from doing this work. And you know who ain't scared? Me. I am not scared. I will not be scared. I will not shut up, because that is the evidence that we are actually moving the needle forward. And so I want to say those names so that you understand the stakes of what is happening and what we are poised to do.
That's right.
And I want to say those names because let me say this one thing that I didn't say a moment ago when I was pushing our future president. It also makes me really angry because sometimes we are the hardest on the people who are trying.
That's right.
The folks who listen, the folks who are willing to move, the folks who are risking something.
That's right.
Those are the folks that we continue to give all the hell to. The white boys who are white supremacists and don't love us and would as soon kill us, nobody at their convention protesting, nobody trying to stop them, nobody trying to push them, nobody trying to call them out, but got all this smoke and all this drama for black women. That's why I said I wake up mad every day, because I know that she has an impossible task. And I want to name it, and I don't just want to name it for her. I want to name it for Representative Pressley. I want to name it for all of you who are running nonprofits and running organizations and running movements, and you work hard and you try to move the people, and you get maligned and you get dismissed and you get minimized. And I just want you to know that I see you, I value you. It matters. Everything you have done, every prayer, every phone call, every $5, every $20, everything you're doing, it matters. That is why we're in this moment. I am on a stage because of my grandmother who prayed and because of my big mama who gave me $20 every time I came home from college. That's why I'm here.
That's right.
That is how you build shifts in generations.
Yes.
That is how you shift generational possibility. And so my answer is, when we say, what do? You do everything you can. If you got $5, you give it. If you can just get yourself to the voting booth, you do it. If you can harass the young man that delivers your paper or mows your yard and make sure he registers, you do that. If you can talk to a stranger in the grocery store and say, how you feeling about things, and give them a smile and maybe ask them to reconsider a position, then you do that. We have got to make this thing happen, and in order to do that, we have got to believe that it is possible. And then, look, some of y'all, be poll workers. Go and be poll workers. Go and watch these election ballots be counted. If all you can do is pray, and I believe in the power of black women's prayer, I encourage you to form intercessory groups and go stand around these offices when they counting these ballots and pray that the evil that they seek to do when they try to steal this election, that the good Lord in heaven or Allah or whatever you call God will not let it happen, that the people's voice will be respected. So in other words, it all counts, it all matters. My mama passed away last year, and she had a long recovery from a heart surgery, and ultimately it did not go her way. But on every good day that we sat in the hospital together fighting, I just tell her all the time, Mama, we take all wins. We take all wins. So it don't matter if it's a bad day, it don't matter if it's a good day, every day's got a win. And you take that win and you get up and you fight for the next win. And if we just do that until November 5th, we'll be looking at a black girl president.
Yeah, and I co-sign all of that. And I guess my answer would be, building upon that, you can't continue to leave the labor to the same people exclusively. We're so used to black women leading and standing in the gap that y'all will just not always think you need to be doing the same thing. So we need everyone to stand in the gap in this moment. And here's the reason why. Several years ago, I had the honor of organizing with indigenous people around an environmental injustice issue. As I was leaving the reservation, an elder said to me, when you leave here, be a better ancestor than descendant. I issue that charge to each one of you to be a better ancestor than descendant, and to deliver a love letter to future generations with your actions in this moment. I too believe in the power of the prayer, but I also believe in the power of the adage that when you pray, move your feet. When you pray, move your feet. So I need you to move your feet, be a better ancestor than descendant, deliver a love letter to future generations by making sure that Kamala Harris is our next president.
Dr. Cooper, you said you may be having a bad day, but we keep fighting. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I woke up this morning and was having a bad day.
Oh, Brittany, we love you so much.
On the day that I wanted to have the best day, because I knew that in the denial that our Palestinian brothers and sisters got yesterday, we were living below our promise. And I knew that we had a chance. We still have a chance. 24 hours.
We still have a chance.
To figure it out.
Palestinian voice has to be on that
truly,
stage.
in the end, these two things are mutually exclusive for me. And that when I got that divine feeling that more than we ever imagined was possible with this election, it was not just about electing someone whom I deeply admire and have developed a relationship of honesty and transparency for which I am grateful. And I try to use that privilege and spend it however I can. But I also saw in it the possibility to usher in a generation and an era of morality in this country that is held up by the people, not just a single person. And I was worried this morning waking up, despite all the phone calls, despite all the work, despite all the text messages, I was worried this morning that people's concern with political calculus was getting in the way of actually realizing that in this moment, the political calculus and the moral imperative match. And so I want to thank you. The electoral math and the moral imperative match here. There are people who want to have her back. There are people who want to be good Democrats, and they just want the Democrats to be good to them. And so in this moment, I find myself grateful because I feel like I can have a good day again. Because my sisters, you have reminded all of us, and I do mean all of us, of our responsibility and our opportunity, and most importantly, our privilege to get to live long enough and breathe enough breaths to change this thing from here until the future we deserve. I thank you, and I thank all of you for being a part of this
Please
conversation.
thank this extraordinary storyteller, truth teller, scholar, journalist, author, and our
Bless you.
sister.
Thank you.
She pours so much into all of us. Please don't take her for granted.
Thank you.
And you wrap around and continue to speak life into and affirm these righteous gifts that you stored.
Bless you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love
Thank
you.
This is Undistracted. Let's go get free, y'all. Thank you.
Let's go get free.